Alrighty. So we are in the third set of notes for Unit 6, this time on the idea of a midsegment. So this is one of those sets of notes where there's just one idea that we're going to start out very simply and ask more and more complicated problems as we go along. As always, if you have any questions, let me know, and we'll get through it. So the whole idea of a midsegment starts with something we already know. Triangles have three sides, right? One, two, three. So each of these sides can have a midpoint, which I'm going to mark here, here, and here. So, sides have midpoints, and we can connect those midpoints with a midsegment. I went ahead and connected those 2 points. My midsegment is this line in the middle. Okay, so that's it. That's really what a midsegment is. If I want to define it formally, a midsegment is a segment that connects the line connecting the midpoints of two sides of a triangle. So a midsegment is the line connecting the midpoints of two sides of a triangle. Well, and the follow-up question is, how many midsegments can a triangle have? That's going to be 3. I have one here. I could draw a second one, and then one more. 3 midsegments for 3 sides of a triangle. Okay, we're going to go down to the bottom of these notes. We're going to see a grid and a bunch of triangles. We're going to start by finding the midpoint of AB. I'm going to do this in triangle 1. My midpoint's right here. I'm going to find the midpoint of AC right here. I'm going to connect these 2 points and make a midsegment. Then we're going to find the length of the third side, BC. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This length here is 6. And I want to compare that to the length of the midsegment. It's going to be 3 right here. You'll notice something as you do this, and you go through the rest of these, which I want you to try right now. Go ahead and try the rest of these, and then notice the difference between the midsegment and the third side. Pause and give it a shot. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and connect the rest of these. I have a midpoint right here, a midpoint right here. Connect them. This one's going to be 4. This one's going to be 8. I have a midpoint right here. I have a midpoint right here. I'm going to connect them. This side right here is going to be 10. This side right here is going to be 5. Then I'm going to connect to this point here, that point there, straight line. This bottom length here is going to be 12, and this length up here is going to be 6. You'll notice through all these that the midsegment is always half the length of the third side. We're going to write that down on the back. Let's flip it over. So we have 2 definitions. The midsegment of a triangle is parallel to the third side. The length is also half the third side. And that's exactly what we see. Looking back at the front real quick, this midsegment is always going to be parallel to the base. It was always parallel to the base. And in general, that midsegment is always going to be half the length of the base as well. So 6 is half of 12, 5 is half of 10, 4 is half of 8, 3 is half of 6. Okay, going back to the back. Once we establish these rules, we can ask all kinds of questions about it. In A, we are told that our third side is 6. What's the length of the midsegment? Well, it's going to be half of that. This length here is going to be 3. Our third side is 18, so our midsegment has to be 9. At C, we're told that our midsegment is 7, so our third side has to be 14. That's really it. That's the whole idea. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to show you D, and then I would like you to try E for yourself. So, in D, I'm told that MP is 17. I'm told that LK, this whole length down here at the bottom, is 24. and that PN is 13. Since this is 17, JK is going to be 34. And because this is 13, JL is going to be 26. Lastly, because this is 24, MN is going to be 12. So JK is 34, MN is going to be 12, JL is going to be 26, and the perimeter of JKL is going to be 26 plus 24 plus 34, 84. Okay, go ahead and try E yourself. Pause and give it a shot. I'll show you the answers in a second. Okay, your answers should be 9, 20, 6.5, 51, and 25.5. Okay, if you got that, let's go ahead and flip to the back. Okay, on the back, we're going to ask even more slightly complicated questions. But to ask these questions, starting with F, I want to establish some things. We already know that the midsegment is 1/2 the third side. So, we can say that 2 times the midsegment equals the third side. Is that right? I assume so. I don't see why it wouldn't be. 2 times the midsegment equals the third side. This is going to be a formula for us. It's what we're going to use for all of these questions. So, in question F, we want to identify our midsegment. It's going to be 6. So we know that 2 times that midsegment equals 2x. Once we've got that down, we can divide both sides by 2, and we know that x has to equal 6. Okay, so with that established, we can go ahead and set up G. Our midsegment is 3x times 2 equals our third side of 30. Once we've got that down, it shouldn't be too much of a trouble to solve. I want you to finish solving G, and then go ahead and solve H and I for me. Pause and give it a shot, and I'll show you the answers in a second. Okay, for G, x should equal 5. For H, x should equal 23.5. If you got a decimal, that's okay. And finally, in I, x should equal 12. If you got these answers, great. If you need any help, please let me know. So in that case, we're going to move down to J. We're going to start by identifying parallel segments. I'm going to identify one, and you should be able to identify the rest. We start with X and Y, and that's parallel to QS. So we have a pair of parallel lines in XY and QS. That's just one pair, but we can have 2 more pairs as well. So I'm going to end up leaving you with K and N to do. I'm going to jump down to L to show you a bunch of different rules. So once we have this established, we can figure out the angles of all of these parts of the triangle just by being given 1 or 2 angles. So let's start with L. We want to find the measure of angle 1 given 35 degrees. Well, this angle here and angle 1 are corresponding. So if this is 35 degrees, angle 1 is also 35 degrees. Once we have angle 1, we can get angle 2 because they form a linear pair. So 180 minus 35 is going to be 145. Now that we have angle 2, and now that we have angle 1, we can go ahead and figure out what angle 5 is. Because they make a triangle, 180 minus 35 minus 90 is going to be 125. I'm sorry, that's not right. That's going to be 55. Angle 5 here is 55. Once we have angle 5, this corresponds to angle 3, so 3 is also 55. That leaves us with angle 4. the linear pair to angle 5, which is going to be our 125. So that's the process for getting all of these different angles. Once you have one, you can figure out all the rest. I want you to do a similar process for K and N. I'll show you the answers in just a moment, and we'll go from there. Okay, so for K, y is going to equal 105. X is going to equal 75. For N, we have 62, 23, 23 for angle 4 as well, 157, and 62 again. Okay, let's flip to the back. So these last two equations aren't too bad. We're really relying on rules we learned before. I'm just going to set these up and let you solve them yourself. So, we've got a pair of angles here. We have to ask ourselves whether these two angles equal each other or if they add up to 180. Well, they're corresponding, so they have to equal each other. We're going to say that 7x plus 4 equals 10x minus 11. We'll be able to solve that out and get an answer. Over here, these don't equal each other. Instead, they add up to 180. So we're going to say that 5x plus 2 plus 11x minus 30 equals 180. And there you go. That's the whole process. So in these sets of notes, we literally just introduced the idea of a midsegment, the line that connects two midpoints, and we did a whole bunch of stuff with it. The whole idea is that the length of the midsegment is half the length of the third side. So you can use that to answer all the questions on the homework, and as always, let me know if you have any questions. Thank you very much.